Let's go. Well, hello everyone and welcome to the season preview, which is going to preview the 2016 CRC World Championship. And in the commentary box, we've got my colleague for this year, who'll be commentating on most of the races this year, James Carwin.
Hello everybody. And looking forward to this good season that will be, well, hopefully good, should be, that we're previewing today.
Yeah, of course, we had the CRC Media Day earlier today, didn't we? It was quite an interesting day for all the drivers, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got to see the nice colourful picture of the grid all lined up.
Yeah. It's quite a colourful grid we have this year, don't we? I mean, I actually might just put the picture up on the stream now. Just going to have to quickly add this in. I'm just going to need to make sure I've got the right picture. But it's unlike the monochrome grid that all the F1 teams have. It's quite a colourful grid, isn't it?
Yeah, we got all kinds of colours. There was a period where it looked like we were going to have too many yellow cars on the grid. But with Shantana change livery, it actually looks quite good now. In terms of a range of colours, we've got blue, we've got orange, we've got yellow, we've got red, and then Yonatroka have got a bit of black as well, and multiple colours on theirs as well.
Yeah, it's good to see all these teams actually going for a design that is actually going to properly stand out from the rest. Isn't it? It might be this one. Yeah, it is this one. I just need to just fit it to size, make sure it stays in the shot. And also I am going to just share the screen with you as well so you can see, because you can't actually see anything at the moment. I'm just going to share the screen with you. But as you can see there, a very colourful grid. I'm actually going to have this as the backing picture. I think that this will be a better picture to have rather than just black. I'm just going to add that to here. That would be a better picture to have. Obviously it has the... But as you can see, it's a very colourful grid. So many unique designs, aren't there?
Yeah.
And that's what really hit you once you saw that picture. But it's been an interesting grid in terms of liveries. Can you see it interesting in terms of the racing?
Yeah, it should be. From testing, it still looks like Yonatroka have an advantage, but I mean they're gonna have more of a challenge this year than before. And the rest of the grid looks really, really tight as well, actually. There's quite a lot of teams that could be battling for best of the rest, and the midfield is very, very packed as well.
Yep. Speaking of the lineup, you may have seen this on the CRC this YouTube channel earlier, but we are now going to give you a rundown of the class of 2016. So, that is the grid. So what we are going to do for this preview is we are going to do a team-by-team review of the season, where we are going to be reviewing the team. We're going to analyse each team's car, and we're going to review what their expectations for this season can be. So, just need to get the cars into the showroom so you can actually analyse them all. But I think we could be in for a very interesting season. We're gonna analyse them from front to the back. So we're just making sure we got the right showroom in. But we're gonna analyse them from front to the front of the field to the back of the field. So the team we are actually going to start with is Yanatoroka. Now, excuse the glitches, for some reason the suspension is showing as white in the showroom. But now, talking about the shape, what hits you about this car in terms of how they have built this car, in terms of how they've sculptured the car?
Well, it looks pretty well put together. All of it, it looks very neat and tidy package. Kind of strikes me, first of all, those side pods are reasonably tight, and it's all very tightly packaged around that back area. And also at the front, kind of an interesting thing is that they're not going for the stubby nose, but they're going for the thumb nose instead. They're going for the thumb rather than the stub.
Yeah, it looks very compact, this car, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At the front, but in terms of livery, it's a very similar livery to what we've seen of them for the past 2 years, isn't it? It's a good design, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks very menacing, and I think that the colours stand out a lot more than they have over the last few years. So, yeah, it's although they haven't changed that much on the livery, the way that the colours are all the same, but the way that they've changed it around actually makes it a lot more striking, I think, this year.
So, now talking about how their testing went, they clearly have the quickest car, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't always using the softest tyres available, but they were still up there every day near the front of the field. Even if they were on the medium or the hard tyres, they were still putting in good times, and being able to hold their pace over a stint as well was very strong. No one really was that close, so it's surely a very strong season again for them.
Yep. So now talking about the drivers, Wesley, of course, the defending champion. But also, before we actually talk about the drivers, they didn't look bulletproof, did the Yanatorokas, did they? They had failures on most of the days. Towards the end of most days, their cars conked out.
Yeah, and we saw this across a lot of the YRT engine cars, so I think that they're going to have to work on the engine's reliability a little bit throughout the season to make sure that they don't lose too many points. But yeah, they were having a lot of problems, especially at the end of the day, as the engine was tiring out. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. Each day they're not doing massive amount of mileage, but yeah, they were struggling towards the end of the day, it seemed, with the engine a bit.
Yeah, so they're not the most reliable car on the grid, are they?
No, they can definitely improve in that area.
Now talking about the drivers, what do you think Wesley's mindset is going to be going into this season? Because he is coming in off the back of a fantastic run that he had at the end of last year, taking 5 wins in a row. Do you think, even though it's been 3 months, doesn't feel like that since the last race, but even though it's been 3 months, do you think that the momentum from those last 5 races will still be with Wesley?
Yeah, it should be. You could see from testing that he was very confident, able to push the car reasonable amount straight away after going out, and yeah, he does seem to be very confident about this season, and rightfully so. He ended up last season in a very positive way, and there's no reason why he can't carry on with that into the season.
So you're saying that Wesley is the favourite for the title again this year?
Yeah, I wouldn't count out Alex Moores, but I think that Wesley has the upper hand at the moment in terms of ability and confidence. So I would be very surprised if Moores beat him this season. I think something would have to go wrong for Estley.
Of course, it almost did last year, didn't it?
Yes, and that's going to be what's playing on his mind.
He
But
doesn't.
apart from that,
He won't be wanting a repeat of all the bad luck that he had last year mid-season. I mean, to be honest, regards to his bad luck, it was really. I mean, it wasn't really like, say, like Belgium or Italy or Singapore that did all the damage for him. It was really like the phase from like Montreal to Hungary. That is really the phase that did all the damage for him, wasn't it?
yeah, he could barely get any points whatsoever over those first kind of European races. He was really struggling to get any points on the board whatsoever. Luckily for him, he managed to turn it around in flyaways at the end of the season.
Yeah. So, but Alex Moores, obviously he is coming off the back of a really embarrassing loss of the title, really, you can say, really, isn't it? Having lost a 67-point lead. Do you think that's going to affect his mindset going into the 2016 season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be plaguing in the back of his mind for this whole season, how he could have won it last season. If things aren't going well for him this season, he's going to think, well, if I'd won last season, then at least I'd have a championship under my belt. But yeah, he's going to be fighting for this championship a lot, which could affect him positively. But he's always going to have that in the back of his mind, how he threw away last season.
Yeah, especially as it was all really his mistake in Brazil that did all the damage, wasn't it?
Yeah, and his general kind of lack of pace as well in Abu Dhabi. He just got completely blown away in a title fight that he should have been right in. He just didn't fight in Abu Dhabi.
In Abu Dhabi, I think the pressure just got the better of him because obviously he would have had a lot more pressure on him than Will Estley. Obviously, he was the one with it all to lose. When Estley had nothing to lose, it could only get better for him.
Yeah.
So, do you think Alex Moores' confidence would have been hampered?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to think to yourself after your teammate's gone and won loads of races in a row, how on earth am I going to beat him? I'm going to have to do something special to beat him now.
Do you think he would have looked at the data from the races where Estley completely obliterated him, like Japan and Abu Dhabi in particular, and Brazil in terms of pace, because Estley had some fantastic pace in Brazil compared to Alex Moores. Do you think he would have been looking at the data just to see where Will Estley was finding all of that pace?
Yeah, I think, and you can't dwell on the data too much. After all, it's all about yourself rather than the other people. If you perform to your best of your ability, that's all you could do. But I don't think Alex Moores was doing that last season. So I think he'll be, looking at Will Estley's data, but also looking at his own for self-improvement going into the season.
But obviously, I think, would you say that Will Estley is actually one of the best drivers on the grid? Because the way he has, I know it's a bit of a random question, but the way he has settled in to that Yanata Roka team, would you agree that he really is one of the best of his caliber right now? Because he is... Because he is such a strong driver. We've known that for the past few years, haven't we?
Yeah, I'd say maybe in terms of consistency, there are better drivers out there, but on pure pace, he's definitely up there, if not the best. But yeah, I think he could work on his consistency a little bit to be the complete package. But yes, he is an extremely strong driver.
Kind of like Hamilton in 2014. Like, he wasn't that consistent, but he was easily better than Rosberg.
Yeah.
And then Hamilton worked on that for 2015, and then he won the title. But looking at the back of the car, obviously, though, excuse those white suspensions. I'm not sure why it only shows like this on the showroom. But it seems to be quite a wide engine cover, doesn't it? Like the way they've packaged their engine, it seems to be quite a chunky engine cover that they've gone for. But then at the back, it's quite thin. What do you think they're trying to do here?
Yeah, to me, it looks like they've gone for a real kind of Coke bottle shape where it's wide, and then at the last moment it kind of really scoops in. You can see underneath so where the green starts on the side pod, that's where it cuts away underneath, and then the engine cover seems to thin out at that stage as well. So obviously they're trying to get their airflow around their suspension, and then doing a lot of work with the air at the back of the car, getting the motion downforce. A pretty good design, I would say. That looks strong.
So now we've spent a lot of time just then talking about Yanata Roka. Now let's talk about the runners-up from last year, Dork. Of course, once again, excuse the white parts. It only happens on the Yanata Roka, Dork, and Gindana. But what hits you about this car in terms of its body and shape?
So yeah, again, it's and this one's a little bit different. Actually, the curvature at the back is more gradual. You'll see there it's kind of it's swooping in for quite a long time before it gets to that end bit. But generally, again, a pretty nicely packaged car. Quite tall side pods in terms of the air bits that actually take in the air, the what they call intakes. And yeah, that looks like a pretty good car. They've got a kind of a shark kind of thin engine cover, which is quite good. And they've gone with the short, thin nose, which is probably the best design in terms of nose. So they have an advantage on Yanata Roka in that area, I think. It seems like a more efficient design at the front.
Yeah. So now they're coming off the back of an okay season for them last year, but they were always in the paddock just saying those Yanata Rokas are absolutely unbeatable. A lot of senior personnel from that team were just saying those Yanata Rokas are completely unbeatable. But they did win a couple of races last year. How do you think they're going to be feeling going into this season regarding the way they want to beat Yanata Roka?
Yeah, their aim for this season is to pull away from everyone else and see if they can challenge Yanata Roka a little bit more. And I think they'll be reasonably confident about that. They've got two very good drivers in Duran and Hawk. And I think that they've got a good chance of getting closer to Yanata Roka. But it does seem like a lot of other teams have got slightly closer as well. But obviously their aim is to be best of the rest again.
They have quite an innovative power unit, don't they? With the way that they have the system that recovers the energy from the acceleration, which is why on acceleration you can hear the energy recovery noises. That is a very innovative system, isn't it, that they've gone for? None of the other manufacturers have actually gone for that yet.
Yeah, and obviously that way that they're getting more extra energy. They're getting more electrical power because they're getting it from acceleration and braking, which is a very clever design, and that should help them down the straight to be able to use that electrical power. And it's hard to tell in terms of internal combustion engines. I think that YRT have a slight advantage, but the electrical power from the Dork engine should be able to make up for it. So they've done a good job with that innovative design.
So now talking about their drivers, Chantal Hawk didn't really have the best of seasons last year, did she? I mean, she did take a win at Istanbul Park, but of course she only finished in 7th in the end, behind her teammate as well. So, do you think she'll be wanting to bounce back in a way this year? Do you think she'll be classing last year as a difficult year for her?
Yeah, she was pretty unlucky, but in the same way, I think she could have done better. I think that her and Duran were on a very close level last year, and Duran just seemed to have the slightly better luck, which gave her the advantage. Hawk would have been hoping to outperform Duran after the championship, so I'm guessing she'll just be looking to get back into that position again of being the #1 driver there. But Duran is a very good driver, so you can't say that it's all on Hawk not performing properly. Duran was a good challenge over the last few years for Hawk, so
And she also was involved in a few incidents that were not her fault towards the back end of last year as well, wasn't she? For example, we saw she got taken out in Belgium. She got caught up in that incident between Toussaint and Phillips. In Japan, she got hit off by Hardy. In Brazil, she got involved in that major pile-up. And in Abu Dhabi, she also got taken off by Hardy. So, really, there was a lot of bad luck in terms of getting involved in incidents for the 2014 champion, wasn't there?
Yeah, and that's why she'll be kind of not too glum on last season, but there was still definitely areas for improvement. Yeah,
but it was a reasonable year for Hannah Duran, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, she managed to. She was a bit slow starting, but in the end, she actually managed to put a pretty good season together, and she'll be happy that she did end up getting the advantage over Hawk. And I don't think Duran can really realistically say for this season that she'll beat Hawk again by that much, but I mean, her aim will just be have a slight advantage again over Hawk, I reckon.
So can you see Dork winning? So what's your expectations for Dork? Can you see them winning races again this year? How many races can you see them winning?
I think I can see them winning 2 races this season. But in the constructors, I think they might actually drop down because Coombs GP have improved over the winter.
We're going to go on to them later.
Yeah. So I reckon 2 race wins, but possibly dropping down to 3rd or possibly even 4th in the constructors.
So, that is Dork discussed. So now just going to see if there's been any comments in the chat, but it's just hopefully it'll be a closer this season. That's what Hulkenberg fan says. That's what a lot of people are hoping, that teams like Coombs GP and Dork and Masterforce can close the gap to those United Rokers. And I think that's what we're hoping as well, because then we want a closer season this year. But now, let's talk about easily the biggest gainers from last year. They had a fantastic year last year. Did Masterforce, didn't they? What hits you about what they've gone for with this car?
Pretty similar to the Onitoroka at the back. Going with that Coke bottle kind of shape.
I think it looks quite chunky at the back though. If I rotate to the back, it looks quite chunky, doesn't it, at the back?
Yeah, and then kind of cuts away again at the last minute. So they've gone with a pretty hefty design there at the back, and then the thumb nose again at the front.
Yeah.
Again, pretty compact sideboard intakes.
But
so, yeah, pretty good design again.
Yeah. So, coming off the back of a fantastic season that they had last year, didn't they? With obviously taking a win, with Toby Jones taking the win in Hungary. Do you think they're going to be really confident going into this season?
Yeah. Obviously, they're going to be aiming to keep that 3rd and go to 2nd as well, hopefully for them.
They came close to securing 2nd in the Constructors as well, didn't they, last year? They almost beat Dork to 2nd. They were very close with Dork. It was a very interesting battle that they had. I mean, obviously last year they really did make a good decision making their own engine. But, I mean, it is very close, I think, between Masterforce and Dork. I think all the engine manufacturers are quite close with each other. But would you say that I think Masterforce do you think Masterforce have the least strong out of all the engines?
Yeah, again, it's hard to tell. I think again they're slightly behind YLT on the internal combustion, but they haven't got the advantage that Dork do of this ERS-A system. So yeah, they are probably slightly down on power overall, which isn't great for them.
So, obviously with Dan Milner driving for them, he didn't actually win a race last year, but he had a reasonable year last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll be aiming this season to hit the front a little bit more, but he was pretty consistent, always kind of fighting around that 5th, 4th, aiming for podiums kind of role. But yeah, I think he'll be wanting to be fighting a little bit more like Toby Jones was for the race to win occasionally.
Yeah. So can you see him winning a race this year?
Tough one. I'm gonna say no, but it is a possibility. But I think that his teammate will have the advantage.
Yeah, now going on to Matt Coombs. Obviously, he spent the last 3.5 years at his own team, Coombs GP, and now he's decided to move to a different team. What do you think maybe influenced his decision to move to his own team, to leave his own team but still run the team, but then move to a different team? Do you think he just wanted a new challenge for this year, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's the exact thing about a new challenge, because although Master Force were better than Coombs last year, there wasn't a massive gap. It wasn't like Coombs were at the back, so it's not purely a move to move up the field. I think it is just a new challenge for him, that he wants to try something different. Maybe as well kind of allow him to focus on his own team from more of an outsider's point of view. That might help him in running his own team. But yeah, a new challenge as a driver for him, I think, is why he's gone here.
Yeah. How well can you see him doing against Dan Milner this year?
I think with all of his years of experience, and obviously a few championships as well, he should be able to beat Dan Milner pretty comfortably, I think, over a season. Milner knows the team better, but I think that overall, the great experience that Coombs has of fighting at the front for a lot of years will be able to carry him to beat Dan Milner, I think, over this season. But it will be a challenge.
Can you see him winning a race?
Yes, I can see Coombs winning a race. And, I mean, he will be really disappointed after last season. I think he'll really want to get on the top step of the podium quite early on in the season, but I can definitely see him taking it at some point in the season, yeah.
So, that is Master Force spoken about, and the next team we're going to go on to, there has been a lot of... It's been not really the best win for them, not in terms of how their pace has been, but they've had a lot of managerial issues have gone on, haven't they? Oops, wrong thing. But they've had a lot of managerial issues. But firstly, before we go on to that, what hits you about this car?
Firstly, I don't really think this is a particularly great car aerodynamically. Again, they've come with the more gradual side pods coming in, so there's more of a slow curve towards the back. I do think that that's a disadvantage to the more Coke bottle shape cars. And then that nose, it's too long, I feel. That's coming out longer than they would have hoped. You see the other noses are right at the back of the front wing, but that one's sticking out quite a long way. Obviously, it's an okay car, but I don't really see too many comparisons in terms of design to the top teams at the moment. So
yeah, seems, judging by testing, they have a car that's at similar pace to last year, don't they?
Yeah, and I think last season they improved near the end of the year. I think they might be going slightly backwards, but yeah, similar to last season. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, talking about those managerial issues that they've had, what do you think? Of course, they've had a lot of managerial issues, haven't they?
Yeah, it's kind of been all over the place. Few changes of leadership. Team principal changed just a few weeks ago, and obviously drivers as well changing. So not ideal start to the season for them.
Yep. So, now talking about their drivers, Kieran Hardy, there was a lot of controversy about where they got a new boss under their belt for Monza, and then he almost wanted to sack him. What do you think of that?
I didn't understand it at all, because I don't think Kieran Hardy had the greatest of seasons last season, but he's still a very, very good driver. He still got a lot of points last season, and I don't see... Yes, he might not have been the best driver last season, but Guindana were not going to bring anyone in who was better than him. And he's a solid driver with loads of experience. I don't see why they wanted to get rid of him.
And of course, they did have a lot of speculation about their second driver, because they originally, Jack Baldwin left for Formula E, and then Joshua Moores came in, but then they put Jack Baldwin back in.
Yeah, and I think this was all a bit weird how this happened. I think Baldwin went to Formula E because he was worried about being sacked by Guindana, but then turned his form around at the end of the season and did a really good job, and then kind of almost had a seat secured had he not already said that he was going to Formula E. And Formula E kind of didn't work out for him, so that's why he's ended up coming back to Guindana with them holding open arms and ditching Joshua Moores.
What season can you see Kieran Hardy having? I mean, he didn't win a race last year. It was actually the first time in his career that he went a season without winning a race. What season can you see him having?
Yeah, I think with the car, I don't think it's quite on the level of Masterforce, Dork. I think it's slightly behind, so I think he might struggle to win a race again this year. But I can see them challenging for podiums, and he's going to be aiming to be consistently in the points. So that's going to be his aim, I think, for the season.
And also, with Jack Baldwin coming in late, do you think that's going to affect his pace this year? Because he did get some decent mileage in the car in the final test.
Yeah, I don't think it'll affect him too much, but it will definitely a little bit, because
maybe in the early races, maybe.
Yeah, I think by mid-season he'll be fine with it, but I think those first few races he might struggle a little bit.
Of course, a new livery for the team this year, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like the new livery. I think the red and the yellow and the green, a little bit of green, goes nicely together.
Yeah.
Nice change from the silver.
The silver and the black that we've been used to seeing them in previous years. So, that is Guindana, and the next team, and this is a big one, a big talking point, one of the big talking points of the off-season. As I said, we were going to talk about them later. Coombs GP. They have a good car, don't they?
Yeah, they've looked really, really solid in testing.
What hits you about how this car's been built?
So once again, look at the side pods. We've got very small side pods there on the intakes, and once again they're going for this really kind of thinning shape right at the back, going away. I think that's a really nice rear of the car. That's looking really good, and less stuff on the side pods. They've got less winglets around the side pod area, which probably makes it cleaner airflow, possibly, maybe making them quicker in a straight line. And the nose, I think there's area for improvement a little bit there on the nose, and possibly the front wing as well, to be developed. But the rear of the car, mid to rear, it looks really solid, and that's why they're getting good grip and good times.
Yeah, they seem to be do you think they're the closest challengers to Yanata Roca?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Over one lap, I'm not sure about race pace, but definitely over one lap they are the closest, and they're going to be, I think, second in the constructors this season.
Can you see them winning a race?
Yeah, I think they're going to win races, and I think with both drivers as well, because, well, we'll get onto that later, but I think both drivers will be able to win races because they've got a good car under their belt.
So, talking about now, going on to the drivers. Toby Jones, obviously, like Coombs, and he actually swapped with Coombs, he left his own team to go to Coombs GP. Why do you think that was? Do you think the same reason as Coombs?
Yeah, I think a new challenge as well. Toby, it's kind of a bit of an opposite situation as well. Matt Coombs has got years of experience. Toby has just started out running with his own team, and this is a big step for him, going to another team, going outside of his comfort zone. I think this is a really good opportunity for growth in his career, for his career to really go somewhere at this team. So I think it's a good challenge for him, and he should do a good job, I think.
And now talking about the rookie alongside him, Rosie O'Driscoll. She has done a fantastic job in that car, hasn't she?
Yeah, straight away on the pace, doing a fantastic job.
I mean, she's going into her first season, but in pre-season testing, she did not look like a rookie, did she?
No, straight away able to push the car, get some really quick times in. Often when she was on softer tyres and Yarnstroker on slightly harder tyres, then she was able to get really, really close to them then, and sometimes even ahead of them. So yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, what do you think Coombe GP's reasons? Obviously we know that she is good. How do you think Coombe GP saw her potential? Because she didn't actually win CGP2 last year. What do you think was the potential that they saw in her that made them sign her? And because they said before that they were going to sign a rookie. Do you think Rosie knew that she was going to be in that seat for quite some time?
I think kind of she knew for a reasonably long time, or we knew, and I would have thought that she would have knew for a long time that she was going to get the seat. But I think it was overall her general pace in CGP2 that made her a really hot prospect. Obviously, she actually got chosen over the two Coombs Academy drivers, which was really a sign of how much Coombs GP really believe in her. From looking at her in CGP2, where she was really quick but did struggle a little bit to put consistency always together.
Can you see her winning a race this year?
I think she will win a race. I'm pretty confident she'll win one or two at least races.
How many? I was about to ask, how many races do you think she's going to win? How long do you think it's going to take for her to win a race?
Tough one. From testing, I guess she could be better the rest straight away, and then if Yarnstroker have a problem, then I think she could get it quite soon. Yeah, pretty early on.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting prospect. So kind of need to rush on a little bit now because we've spent so much time talking about the big teams, so we kind of need to rush on a little bit. So going on to the next team, Baranasso. So now just waiting for their car to load in the showroom. What hits you about this car?
So, they've gone with a really thin design at the rear. You can see it cuts in pretty early there, a very early thin, and that looks very, very thin there at the back. That's looking pretty nice. Should be good. And then they've gone with the...
They did actually originally go with the long nose, didn't they? But it didn't really work out for them.
Yeah, they've gone with not the really thin nose, but they've gone with the slightly higher nose with the U shape underneath it, which is looking pretty nice. Yeah, I think that that's a good design there. That's looking like a really nice car.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's one of the best looking cars on the grid, and they struggled in Jerez before they put those updates on the car, and they have looked on good form, haven't they, since?
Yeah, those updates have really helped them, and I think their aim with these updates will probably be to challenge Guindana on a regular basis.
Yeah, kind of like they were able to do last year.
Yeah, they'll be able to stay around there.
They retained their lineup of Will Buchan and Lucy Woodward. That really wasn't really surprising, because that was a good pairing last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're a good challenge for each other. Neither one of them is massively better than the other. I think Woodward had the edge over the season, but they're a good challenge for each other, and they're both good drivers. Should be getting a lot of points again this.
Yeah. So, can you see them getting podiums like they did last year? Because Will Buchan and Lucy were on the podiums multiple occasions. Can you see them getting podiums?
Yeah. I think they should get quite a few podiums. 3, 4, 5. No, 4 or 5, I reckon.
That's around how much they did last year. And it's a very interesting inter-team battle. Lucy Woodward obviously coming off the back of another fantastic season. She kind of dropped off a little bit in 2014, but she bounced back in 2015. So she had a good season last year, didn't she? So what do you think she'll be aiming to do this year?
She'll be aiming to put that, extend that advantage over Buchan. You look at the start of the season, Buchan was miles better, and then Woodward was better from about Valencia onwards.
Yeah, I think it just took Woodward a bit of time to get used to like the management of the team and everything, and then she's now fits in with the team very well.
Yeah, and she'll be, I reckon, just looking to extend the advantage this season over Buchan.
And what do you think Buchan's aims will be?
Buchan's aims will probably be to get that advantage over Woodward back, and
I mean, he did actually beat Woodward in the standings, but of course, a lot of that was due to a lot of failures that Woodward had on the car.
yeah. And when you're not scoring as many points as these other teams, when you get into a good chance like Woodward was in Zandvoort, and then you lose it, then that's going to cost you more in the standings than for the big teams.
Yeah, but so you're saying they should hope to have a season like they did last year?
Yeah, I think there'll be a similar kind of area there.
Okay, so that is Baranasso discussed. So next team to talk about is RTS. They looked reasonable to start with, but then they kind of looked a little bit off so far, haven't they? Firstly, what hits you about this car?
So once again, they've gone with the same design at the front as Baranasso, and I do like that design. It's looking pretty good.
They originally had the stub at the front, didn't they? But they ditched that.
Yeah, and I think that is a definite improvement. And then the rear is looking. It kind of looks quite tight at the back and quite gradual. That's quite I think that's quite a nice rear, quite a standard.
Yeah, and a new livery as well, isn't it?
Really nice livery, yeah. Like
yeah. They didn't look immediately on the pace, did they, compared to last year, did they?
Yeah. They had a lot of problems in Bahrain as well with crashes, not really being able to ride the curbs very well.
Yeah. The car just seemed to be a bit rigid, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did seem okay in terms of pace, particularly on the final day as well. It looked reasonable, but they're not really looking like they had the pace they did last year, are they?
Yeah, I think last year they were very inconsistent. They were kind of just out. They were most of the time they were actually quite in the lower midfield, but then they kind of had these really, really good races where they were battling for the podiums
and the win as well. Obviously, James Humphreys. Of course, James Humphreys taking that shock win that he took in Malaysia, and then Louise Morrow. Obviously, this was in completely different circumstances, taking that win in Monaco, but Louise Morrow staying on and them signing rookie Phoebe O'Connor. What do you think Louise Morrow's aims is going to be for this year?
I think Morrow will be just looking for that consistency, being able to consistently be up with Baranasso. I think will be their aim, to be consistently fighting for good points and being able to hold off Phoebe O'Connor, because O'Connor is a very good driver. We saw from CGP2 last year, and Morrow. I think that's a really good lineup actually. I think Morrow's experience can really rub off on O'Connor, and O'Connor should be a good challenge tomorrow to push Morrow to really keep ahead. So.
Yeah. What do you think Phoebe O'Connor's expectations? Cause, I mean, it's her rookie season, but she knows the team very well because she did many Thursday sessions with the team and was actually signed quite early as well. And because it's really interesting the way that O'Connor's gone about her career, isn't it? Because she initially got an offer from SpeedTech for 2015, but she turned that down because she said she knew that SpeedTech were likely to be at the back and she wanted to drive in a midfield to start her career in a midfield team. That really was a good decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's paid off beautifully for her, and she's now got a really good chance with half a year of driving the car last year in practice sessions. Got that under her belt, and now she's got a really good chance with the CGP2 title as well to start her career on the front foot.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how she's going to do. How well do you think she's going to do against Louise Morrow?
I think she's going to be a very similar pace. I reckon most weekends that they'll be very, very close to each other. But I think Morrow over a season with the experience will probably just be able to beat O'Connor over the season, I reckon.
So, that is RTS done and spoken about. And the next team that we're going to talk about is Tove. So obviously they're just getting the car up now for you on the stream, and there it is. Firstly, what hits you about this car?
So they've once again gone with that tight rear end, right at cutting in. Coke
but one thing I noticed was from the side, particularly on track, it looks quite small, doesn't it? I mean, obviously
we did notice that. Yeah,
it's
very
quite
compact design.
Yeah, but What hits you most about this design?
Uh, I don't know. It's not really. It probably would be that compact shape. Yeah, it's a pretty nicely put together car. There's nothing massively outstanding. I
And
just
then,
like the
so, sorry to interrupt you. That was a bit stupid, but talking about their pace, they looked good in Jerez, didn't they? They looked really good in Jerez, didn't they?
Yeah, they were about fifth, sixth every day, looking really solid.
Then
And
what happened going
good.
into? Then what do you think happened going into Bahrain? Because they just were nowhere compared to where they were in Jerez.
Yeah, I think it was.
The characteristics of the track, maybe.
Yeah, characteristics of the track, and I think that in Jerez they saw that they had a good car, and they were like, "Ooh, where can we improve that?" Whereas other teams thought, oh, we could improve here, here, here. Tove, I think they've got a solid car, which they need to tweak, but it's harder to find those tweaks to get the best out of the car.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where they lost out.
They've got two quite equal drivers, to be honest. Like Tom Ungle and David Bland are quite equal, aren't they? To be honest.
Yeah, Bland had a very, very poor end of last season.
Well, he did get that result in Brazil, didn't he? He got a fourth place in Brazil.
Yeah, actually, yeah, he did well there. Count out that though, and he had a really poor end of the season. But I think they are still very equal drivers, and they're a good challenge to each other. And they've both got a good amount of experience.
They're probably going to have similar goals, to be honest.
Yeah.
What do you think their goals are going to be for this year?
I think they're going to want to kind of maintain constructors' position from where they were last year and make sure that no jumps ahead of them. I don't think they're going to be able to jump ahead of RTS and Baronasso. They might be able to beat RTS, but I think their main aim is just to maintain.
I mean, obviously, coming off the back of a fantastic year that they had last year, of course, they were backmarkers from 2012 to 2014. Then 2015, they completely turned that around, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's really good to see that they're not getting bogged down at the back, and it gives hope to these teams at the moment at the back as well.
About how Tove have done it.
Yeah, they just don't. Tove just don't want to drop back to that. They really want to maintain that, and I think they can.
Yeah. So that is Tove discussed, and then next team to talk about is a team that has had a horrific winter, even with rumours of financial issues, which were quickly downplayed by the team. But they have had a horrific winter, have DMAD, haven't they?
Yeah. It's really hard to talk about it, really, because they had such a bad time of mileage. It's quite hard to tell where their pace is. I don't think they're really that far on pace, and their reliability was shocking as well. And they had a few crashes as well for the drivers. So,
what hits you about this car in terms of its body and shape?
Starting with the rear as we always do, kind of a gradual curve again, going to the back, reasonably thin, I think, that car. And at the front, they've gone with the thin nose, and also they've got.
They did have the long nose initially, didn't they?
Yeah, and they got rid of that, and I think that's a really big advantage for them. As well, they've actually, just like to point out about the Tove as well, they have the camera mounts on stalks rather than coming straight out. They actually go slightly up as well. And I think that's a slight advantage for getting airflow away from the suspension arms, which is a slight advantage they might have there.
So now I'm talking about the drivers. Lucas Quintanilla had a fantastic year last year, didn't he?
Yeah, and I would suspect him to have the advantage this season over Phillips. He'll be hoping that the car moves forward and that he's able to have as good a season as last season. I think I'm confident that he'll do a good job. I think it is reliant a lot on the on how the car improves.
Yeah. What do you think Dan Phillips' goals for this year is going to be?
He be more consistent. He had an interesting season because he started at CGP and then got called to DMAD, had a couple of races on the sidelines, and when he went to DMAD, he was nowhere. He was good at CGP but inconsistent, and then he went to DMAD and he was pretty bad, really. Got his act together near the end of the season, seemed to get a little bit of pace back. But he's just going to be hoping to consistently be in the points next season and do slightly job at accumulating points.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then it's time to go on to the remaining teams. Time to go on to CGP. Will be the next team. So you can, just whilst I'm out, you can maybe talk about a few expectations for this season.
Yeah, so expectations, closer field overall is that feel that this season will be. The on-striker, yes, have an advantage, but they can be challenged a little bit more than they were last year. And the midfield as well, we've got lots of teams with expectations to move up the grid, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, who tops the midfield. Really quite hard to call, I'd say, from RTS down to Shantana, Lockie kind of areas. Really hard to call. That'll be the main focus, I think, for the season, as well as best of the rest, and how often they can challenge John Soroka, I think, will be the questions that we've got to look forward to for this season. We can see how that all plays out, and we'll find out in Australia, I guess, where each car stands.
So I am back, and now we're about to go on to the next team, which is the CGP Racing team. Of course, when you look at this car, the first thing that hits you, it's a very bright livery, isn't it?
Yeah, very,
fluorescent yellow.
Yeah, fluorescent. That's the word. Very fluorescent, and
what hits you about this car?
Yeah, they've got that thin nose, like Dork do, but it's more extreme than what Dork do. It really cuts away, and they've got you look at that rear end right at the back, and there's barely anything to it whatsoever. So, yeah, I think and the exhaust pipe comes out a long way. So pretty interesting design there at the back, and at the front they've got the short nose, but they haven't got the different camera mounts. They've got the standard camera mounts. Pretty okay looking car,
yeah. It was an interesting winter for CGP, wasn't it? Because they started off a bit off, didn't they? But then they kind of gained a bit more pace, didn't they?
Yeah, they had that heavy revision going into the Bahrain test, and they were able to get their reliability together as well. Jerez was kind of a pointless test for them. They might as well have just not turned up. But Bahrain was more positive for them. And I guess they're going to look to move forward and forward during this season as they still develop as a team.
So, now talk about their drivers. This is Maximum Degar's actually his first full season with the team. What do you think his expectations are going to be?
It's going to be a tough one for him because it's so close in that midfield. But I guess his aim will be to try as a driver and top the midfield. He had a very strong, I think it was 5 races after he joined the team, where he was really, really good and scoring points and looked the best of the midfield teams. I think he's going to try and do that over a whole season this year and top the drivers' midfield standings.
And what do you think Luke Julian's aims are going to be?
Yeah, I think his aims will be, again, consistency. I think he had a pretty good time when he joined the team. Obviously, he wasn't suspecting to be in CRC for that season, and then kind of came in out of nowhere and did an okay job. But I think he'll be aiming to be a little bit closer to Van der Gala more often.
Yeah, so I think they should be in for an interesting season this year. So that is CGP discussed. And now let's go on to the first of the, or new in inverted commas, because they are actually still the same entry and the same team. But the first of the actual proper, like, with completely new management, obviously now run by MAT, Mossad. So, firstly, what hits you about that car?
So, yeah, they've gone a pretty tight rear end there.
Quite chunky rear though, isn't it?
Yeah, and then cuts away again. Yeah,
then,
the kind of middle of the car is very chunky, yeah, and then cuts away. And they've gone with the finger nose, so they haven't got the thumb; they've got the long finger nose, which looks pretty thin actually, and that's looking pretty good actually. You could see that there's quite a big area underneath the nose, and to the side where the air can flow through. So that's a pretty good design. No team has got that kind of design at the moment.
This wasn't actually seen on the car till the third Bahrain test, was it?
Yeah, and actually they had what most teams have gone with up until then, with the short, thin nose. But they've really changed the design philosophy there at the front of the car. It'd be interesting to see what that does, whether it improves that much.
So their drivers, obviously, they've got Matthew Towson, the experience. Matthew Towson, obviously, this is his team. And he left Coombs GP. He turned down offers. It's heard that he turned down offers from teams like Gindana to go to this team. And obviously, this team is not expecting to win races this year. Do you think that was a reasonable move for him? Obviously not in the short term, but in like the long term.
Yeah, obviously it's hard to predict the future when the team has only just started out. But from testing, they've looked pretty solid, and I think that they've got the determination as a team to move closer to the front. And I think that with him obviously running it as well, it's a really good chance for him to kind of make the team his baby and really move it forward and see it develop. So I think, yeah, it'll be a really good project for him to be behind now.
Yeah. Can you see him consistently scoring points?
Yeah, I think they will. Not every race, obviously, because there's quite a lot of teams that will be fighting for points, but they should be able to get a pretty decent haul of points. And you never know, they might get like a few top fives as well, because the cars look pretty solid and pretty reliable as well. They had quite a lot of mileage in the first ref test, straight out the blocks.
Yeah. And now, alongside him, it's another rookie driver, Abby Ledger, who's obviously been known to the MAT squad for some time because she was actually loaned out to Amlin Fox in CGP2. Firstly, signing to a team that she knows very well, do you think that's going to help her going into this season?
Yeah, she's got confidence in knowing that the team backs her because they've known her for a while and they know what she's capable of. So in a way, there's not too much pressure for her, and it gives her a really good chance to just go out there and give it 100% and not worry too much about the consequences.
Yeah, she looked really good in testing compared to Towson, didn't she?
Yeah, she actually looked like she had the edge over Towson. So I think her aim for the season will be to beat him, but it will be tough because Towson's got loads and loads of experience to put together a good season. So it will be tough, but I think that'll be her aim.
A lot of people are saying that could be an interesting rivalry. Can you see Legia actually ending up ahead of Towson at the end of the season?
I think actually I can see it, because I think that if she has that slight edge on pace carried over from testing into the season, obviously we don't know, Towson might have been sandbagging a little bit, but if she does have that, I think that will be able to make her just edge into the points when Towson's just outside it possibly. So I think I can see her beating Towson here.
Yeah, so that is the Mossad team discussed. So now moving on to Shantana. Now, they're an interesting one. Now, obviously, they did unveil their race livery. Obviously, they did test in like a testing livery. A very distinctive livery, firstly, isn't it, on the Shantana?
Yeah, very bright blue and very bright orange, so plenty of brightness in that livery.
Yeah.
And looking pretty nice.
Yeah. So obviously, they're also the other new team in inverted commas, because they obviously with the banning of sister teams, they needed to find someone to run the team, did Dork. And then they sold Shantana to Manic Motorsports. Do you think they've done a reasonable job so far?
Yeah, they've managed to, because they actually missed the first test, so they've managed to just about put together a car in time. And it's actually looking pretty nice, and they should be able to get some more points than they did last season, I reckon.
Yeah, they looked reasonable in Bahrain, didn't they? Obviously, I think they were probably the slowest out of all after H2R and Speedtech, but
yeah,
still they looked a lot closer to the rest, didn't they?
Yeah, it does look like. I mean, last season we had the two backmarker teams, and then we had Mossad, Shantana, and Lockie, who were kind of in just off the midfield. I think they're right on the back of the midfield now, so they have made a little bit of a step forward. and they should be looking to get more than 2 points this season.
Yeah.
With a change of drivers as well.
Yeah, obviously Harvey Williams and Ben Blakemore. Harvey Williams, obviously he was at Mossad last year, who had a terrible year. What do you think his expectations for this year are going to be?
It's quite a tough one for him because obviously he would want to return to the kind of 2014 performance where he's doing pretty well at the end of the season. But realistic expectations is to probably be not the worst midfield team. It's probably their only realistic aim to probably beat Lockie, I think their aim will be, or one of the other teams. And he'll be hoping to lead the team forward into the future.
And what do you think of Ben Blake? How do you think Ben Blakemore is going to do as well? Obviously, he had a year out last year. Obviously, he did do a couple of races, but this will be his second full season. Do you think he should expect a reasonable year this year?
Yeah, I think he'll do okay. I don't think he'll do amazing though, because it is quite hard. You have one season, you start getting used to it, and then you take a season out. In that season, you move to a new game, and then the next year after that, you move to a new car, and you've kind of missed out on all of those changes. You haven't been transitioned through it all. You've gone straight from 2014 on a different game, different cars, and now he's in a completely different situation. He is a good driver though, so I think he'll be able to adapt, but it is going to be tough for him, I think, to do as well as Harvey Williams.
And also, what hits you about the car in terms of its shape?
It actually looks pretty similar to the Yamaha, I think, actually, in some ways. Of
course, it has a YRC engine.
Yeah, so that packaging at the back is looking pretty similar to the Yamaha. I think it's a pretty nicely put together car, actually, and I think they should be they should be doing probably a little bit better than they are at the moment in testing, but obviously they were late bringing the car, so it's not fully tested yet, which is probably why they were slightly slower in testing than they would hope to be.
So, next up, the next team to talk about is Lockie. Obviously, we've only got 3 teams left to talk about, and obviously it's their first full year back as Lockie after their wheel spin Lockie days. Firstly, what hits you about the shape of the car?
So we've got gradual side pods at the back, or gradual kind of shape. That's looking reasonably thin, I think, and a pretty kind of standard front wing and nose going with the thumb. Pretty basic design, but again, yeah, looking pretty good. And it's been pretty good in testing, so they obviously know that the car's got good balance and they're able to do well.
And they look. Do you think they should be expecting to be consistent points? Because they were constantly there, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it would be hard for them to carry that into the season as well as they were doing in testing, because they were late coming to testing, which I thought was really interesting that they were straight away able to fight there. I think they'll struggle to carry it into the season as well as they did in testing. But that's going to be their aim, to get consistent points, and it is a possibility for them.
Yeah, so, obviously they've got Kerry-Anne Peace they have retained. Do you think she should be in for a good year this year after a very strong rookie season that she had last year?
Yeah, I think, obviously she was able to beat Tom Forrest-Smith. It's always hard to tell when you're at the back how good a driver is, and it should be a good test this year to see how good Kerry-Anne Peace really is. I think it'll be a good experience for her to be fighting in the midfield more often this season, and I think she should have a pretty good season.
Yep, and Chloe Carter joined the team obviously after Shantana. Obviously bringing the team the Dork engine as well, the free Dork engine. Obviously they had financial issues, so that really helped them. How do you think Chloe Carter's going to do this year?
Yeah, I think Chloe Carter didn't have the best of seasons last season. She was, I think, better than Zach Sadiq, and was a little bit unlucky. It's a tough one again because she wasn't really fighting with too many people. I think that her and Kerry-Anne Peace should be reasonably close to each other, but I think that Kerry-Anne Peace got a slight advantage.
So, kind of got a bit to hurry a little bit now. We've only got 2 more teams to discuss. So, it's actually the 2 backmarker teams we now need to discuss, and the first of those two teams, and the backmarker teams, is HWR. What hits you about this car?
First of all, pretty bare with sponsors.
Of course, they had the most financial issues out of anyone last year, didn't they?
Yeah. And they've gone again with the thumb nose, and the side pods looking. They're not the same shape as most of the other teams. They're more triangular, and that means that it's quite wide, but then thins out towards the end. It's looking like a nice car, but not. It's not great. It's not. There's nothing there that's really looking top notch, shall we say?
Of course, they don't have the resources of the other teams. So,
no, yeah.
What do you think their expectations will be?
Their expectations will be to beat SpeedTech. That's it. I think they can't aim any higher than that. They're just going to want to do that, and I mean, their ultimate aim will be to score a point, but that's going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah. So they've got effectively two rookie drivers. Louis Hyde, who will be doing his first full season this year with the team. He'll be driving for them. How do you think, obviously off the back of the Formula Renault Championship, how do you think he's going to do?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting route. We've very rarely seen someone jump straight from Formula Renault to...
Phillips did it.
Sorry, oh, actually, yeah. But he had well, no, actually, no, because Hyde's had races before. But yeah, it's a little bit of an unconventional route, but he did do so well in the Formula Renault Championship, and he does have experience before, and I think he could have a pretty good season. Obviously, it's hard to tell though when you're at the back how well you really are doing as a driver.
And also, what about how well can you see James Lane doing? Obviously, in his rookie season, what do you think his aims will be for this year?
His aims will to beat Hyde. I think in CGP2, which is a much stronger grid than Formula Renault. Formula Renault isn't too bad, but CGP2 is stronger. He was fighting for podiums and the old wins, so I think that he's going to be quite close to Louis Hyde, I think. And with Hyde having previous experience, I think Lang will be slightly behind to start off with, but his aim will be to be on par with Hyde by the end of the season in pace.
So, that is HWR discussed. Now, one final team to discuss, and that is the SpeedTech team. Just need to find someone who's driving for them, and that is SpeedTech. And now I've got the car up because I found someone. And firstly, what hits you about this car?
So pretty gradual again with it. That's what we're always focusing on. Pretty gradual side pods coming in there, and look at those kind of rivets there around there. That's quite an interesting idea. And then they've got quite an interesting right at the back. Their kind of wing support is more visible than on the other teams, and then they've got the different camera outs at the front, stalk ones, and the short nose. So looking like a pretty good car, but again, not quite up with the resources of the other teams, and that's why they'll be fighting with HWR this season.
Yeah, how well do you think they've looked compared to HWR in testing?
In the first test, it looked like HWR had the advantage, but I do think that SpeedTech are slightly quicker than HWR. And I think having Bex Howie as well is a good thing. She's a good driver, and I think that she should be able to win this back marker kind of battle most races, and I think that will be what helps SpeedTech overcome HWR this season.
Yes, now quickly, I've got to really rush now, so now quickly let's talk about the drivers. So, Elliot Everson, obviously he had a good season last year, didn't he?
Yeah, too many incidents with back markers, but his pace was good. Yeah, he was able to edge out James Casey most races.
Yeah, and how well can you see Bex Howie doing?
I think she should do quite well.
Of course, 2014 CGP2 champion.
Yeah, and it was a shame that she didn't go straight into CRC, but she's had a year out to do a lot of other series, a bit of Formula E, a bit of CRC Classics to keep herself active, and I think she'll do quite well. Yeah, I think she'll have a good year.
Yeah, so that is the final team I've kind of had to rush because there's other commitments, but thank you very much for watching this preview stream here. Of course, I know it may have been a little bit boring at times with all the discussing about all the teams, how all the teams have been going, looking at the chat, and interesting first to talk about. I could see Coon GP and Master Force taking on Dork and might beat them. So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that should happen, really.
But Dork still looked very good.
Yeah, it is close in that battle for second. So, yeah, it could go any way out of those.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see.
Anyway, it's time to wrap up now. Of course, next week, make sure you tune in for the season opener of the 2016 CRC World Championship. I wanted to discuss the tyre regulation. Maybe we could discuss that in the preview stream. We could do a preview stream on Wednesday and discuss a bit more, like we used to do. But thank you very much for watching. Obviously, make sure you join us. Obviously, practice will be getting underway on Thursday. The times are not fully confirmed for that. Same with Friday. But Saturday, qualifying will take place at 11 in the morning, GMT. And then, not sure how long the build-up's going to be, but we are scheduled for an 11 o'clock race start on Sunday next week. It's going to be an interesting one, isn't it, James?
Yep. Can't wait.
Thank you very much for watching. It's been me, it's been James Carwin, and we'll see you in Melbourne next week. Goodbye.